From bounding into comics, prominent anti-ESG Disney investor calls on company to, quote, commit to political neutrality before they're, quote, expected to take sides that won't be favorable. Before? They've already done this in Florida, which is why they are getting eviscerated in public opinion. But you know what? I'll give y'all a public opinion. Disney is pumping out garbage. It's getting worse and worse. It's trash. Sorry, man. I'm a big fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but the shows have been getting continually worse. The movies have been getting continually worse. They had their heyday. I mean, when Iron Man came out, I remember, I think I was in Los Angeles. I don't know. And I saw it and I loved it. And then I remember the next movies that were coming out and I was like, Captain America's okay. And then all of a sudden we found ourselves looking at this cinematic universe that had been tied together. And then I remember seeing more. And then I remember, Ant-Man comes out, Doctor Strange, all this stuff. And I'm like, man, Infinity War, the conclusion of all of this is going to be epic. Infinity War was. Endgame was. Endgame was one of those TV shows where it's like, instead of writing a new episode, they just show you clips from old episodes. I never understood that, and I always hated it. But you know what? I wondered, was that the end of something great? Yes. The answer is yes, it was. I mean, we got a few good movies afterwards. I think the Spider-Man movies are pretty good. But now it's all just starting to get bad. It's not even just about wokeness, which is an issue, clearly. But it's just a lack of talent, and things are getting bad. Take a look at this story. In the midst of the ongoing public backlash against the company's recent foray into political activism, prominent anti-ESG Disney investor Vivek Ramaswamy has made a personal plea to the House of Mouse for them to refrain from stepping further into this arena. Otherwise, he warns they will be expected to take sides that won't be favorable to its business. That's already happened, dude. But I know he knows this. The founder of biopharmaceutical company Roivant Sciences and the author of Woke Inc., Inside Corporate America's Social Justice Scam, Ramaswamy, if it wasn't already apparent by the title of his book, has been a fervent critic of corporate America's recent obsession with following ESG principles, which, in short, essentially serve as rubrics against which company can rank their commitments to such goals as promoting diversity, fighting climate change, performing social outreach, and the like. We need to stop it. We need to take a wooden stake to the vampiric heart of the concept ESG and end it. It is nothing more than cult ideology. It is the American version of the Chinese Communist Party. That's it. You want to open a business in China? Yeah, well, you want to open a business, you better have an office for the Chinese Communist Party. That's what this is. We can stop it. We have to call it out. On September 19th, speaking as a representative of his recently co-founded Strive Asset Management and those investors who through his firm have some level of stake in the entertainment company, Ramaswamy issued a formal letter to Disney CEO Bob Chapek asking him to take corrective action in the face of an unprecedented public approvals rating collapse following the company's public embrace of controversial political positions in deference to social activists. You know what? No. Let them embrace it. Let them do it. Because we here at timcast.com are having a grand old time making content of our own. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that the stuff that we're putting out is on the same level production-wise, but we're better. We just are. You know why? So one of the first show we're doing, well, we did Tales from the Inverted World. But that's like gonzo journalism into the science, into the weird and the wild and murders and mysteries and true crime. Cast Castle is a fictional version of the office we work in. And it's a bit silly. We don't have any special mics, no booms, no lavs. We just use onboard mics, and it's lower quality, but it is what it is. Because we decided we're just going to start making stuff because this stuff's gone nuts. It's just garbage. It's getting worse. And you know what? We're going to start here. We are in but an empty field. But you don't start with nothing and then demand a castle. You build a little wood shack. You cut down some trees. You make do with what you can. But we're going to do it. So you know what? Fine. Disney. Ramaswamy, please, don't tell them to change this. Let them do it. Let them destroy themselves from within, and from the ashes of the old we shall build anew. Now look, in reality, I don't want them to fail. I want them to succeed. I liked Star Wars, we'll put it that way. I like Star Trek better. But all of this stuff is being just beaten to death by people who never understood any of it. They don't care about the fans. They don't care about what made it work. They're just beating it and beating it and beating it. They are beating it. Yeah. Man, Star Trek has just been in a spiral, a death spiral. And now they're doing Picard season 3. And it's like, for anybody who's a fan of Star Trek, it's come on. TNG was epic. I grew up on that stuff. Maybe I'm just an old fogey and I don't quite understand those newfangled shows the kids like. Yeah, come on. Kids don't like that stuff. We're looking at Picard. We're looking at them being like, remember Riker? Remember Beverly Crusher? Throwback to South Park, mind you. Disney, on the other hand, seems to be bringing in a bunch of people. They're spread too thin. And this is the problem. I mean, when was the last time a movie like Groundhog Day was made? Here's what y'all need, Disney. You need antitrust. You need to be shattered into a million pieces where instead of just this cookie cutter garbage, you can have merit at 50 different studios trying to make good things. And then we'll get more good things. But back to the politics, they say, citing such events as the company's battle with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis over the state's newly passed parental rights and education law, their firing of Gina Carano, huge mistake, by the way, and their various attempts to weigh in on anti-abortion legislation, Ramaswamy would lament, there is no evidence to suggest that these positions have benefited Disney's stockholders, and a growing body of evidence to suggest that they have harmed Disney's stockholders. Sue them! To the contrary, just last week, you praised Disney for standing your ground, he asserted. We find these comments deeply troubling for Disney's future. To this end, Ramaswamy then took a moment to remind Disney's board it owes a fiduciary duty solely to Disney's actual owners, not to a minority of its employees, activist organizations, or to large financial institutions who promote one-sided political agendas. Bravo, good sir. Bravo. Quote, in 2022, the 3 largest passive asset managers in the world, BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, were Disney's top 3 shareholders. By contrast, the actual owners of Disney are not BlackRock, State Street, or Vanguard, or for that matter, Strive. Disney's actual owners are the clients of these institutions, everyday citizens whose capital is invested in passively managed index funds. You owe a fiduciary duty to the actual owners of Disney, not to the institutions who claim to represent them. There is strong reason to believe that these large asset managers are not acting with their clients' best interests in mind. Woo! Testify, brother. Bring it down. Quote, like Disney's customers and Americans more generally, Disney's shareholders are not monolithically progressive. Thus, even if these investors wanted their capital to be used for political purposes, and most do not all of them would agree with the positions Disney chose to adopt. With all of this said, Ramaswamy called on Disney to focus on delivering an excellent customer experience without repeating the same mistakes of the recent past, and make clear that it will no longer take political stances on issues unrelated to its core business operations. I want to see a lady with a big fist punch a robot. That's it. I don't care if she's Muslim or gay or anything like that. What I don't want to see is Disney coming out and being like, there's a law being passed and we're going to stop it. What? Shut up. No. The company must make clear that it will hold firm to this promise and that it will not waver no matter how important a particular social cause is to Disney's employees or its followers on Twitter. While we defer to management on the best way to achieve this goal, our view is that such change will only be possible if Disney formally updates its corporate policy to adopt a position of neutrality ex ante. Such corporate policy would appropriately immunize Disney from criticism, either from its liberal constituents or its conservative ones. Interesting. Disney must act now. If Disney continues speaking out on political issues that do not affect its business, it will face even greater pressure to act when they do. And the sides Disney will be expected to take won't be the ones that are favorable to its business. Ultimately, Ramaswamy issued 3 requests on behalf of Strive's clients, which included the adoption of a formal corporate policy that Disney does not take public positions on political controversies that are unrelated to the company's core business operations. 2, a public commitment to political non-discrimination amongst its employees and customers. including human resources policies, which make clear that employees or customers will not be subject to punishment for expressing political views. 3, a commitment to making all decisions based on long-term profitability of Disney alone, without regard to social, cultural, or political pressure from employees, activist groups, or stakeholders. Here's Ironheart. Yeah, Ironheart. It's just so dumb. Eric July, he's got Rippaverse. He's doing something cool. He's doing something good. This is what we need more of. I'm sick of the redundant, recycled, remade garbage. Everything Disney is doing is unoriginal and played out. Make a new superhero. I mean, come on, Spider-Man. Think about Spider-Man for 2 seconds. Seriously, at some point, someone was sitting there and it's like, it's a guy, but he's got spider power. And then the other guy's like, spider power? Yeah, spider power. Like, he can climb like a spider and shoot webs. It's like, that's kind of weird. Yeah, back in the day, they went nuts with stuff. Did you know that Superman once had the ability to fire from his palm a smaller Superman? Yeah, it didn't play out very well, but they tried it. All we're getting now, it's like, okay, what if we did Iron Man, but it's the young black woman? It's like, oh, yeah, that's an original story, right? Well, Ironheart. Look, I don't know the full story of Ironheart. I don't read that stuff. And if people like it, that's fine. I'm just saying, at a certain point, it's all derivative. Okay, we get it. We know Iron Man. We get it. Make something else. Let's come up with a new superhero right now. Okay, they've done basically everything. They've done stretchy powers. They've done turning to ice powers, turning to fire powers. They've done, they redid stretchy powers with Ms. Marvel. It's like they ran out of ideas. How about a person who has the ability to, it's hard to think of something that's never been done, right? Come on, comment below. Let's come up with new ideas for things. How about a guy who has, I know. When he makes a fist, 3 metal claws come out of, oh, wait, that's been done. It's like, come on. Everything's derivative. They even did, what was it, X21 or was it X13 or something? I don't know. Where it was like a clone of Wolverine who had 2 claws and 1 claw in the foot. You could come up with a bunch of different ideas for superpowers and an interesting way to make a play on them. One thing, to get serious, one thing that I've often thought about, one idea I had for a series I wanted to do as a backstory to a video game or something, was a former post-apocalyptic reality, coming out of a post-apocalyptic reality. And you have cultures, because we hyper-centralized economies, after everything collapses, cultures built up around those hyper-centralized economies and develop in really unique ways. So, for example, you'd have like the frack fields in like North Dakota. So civilization collapses. 100 years later, the people there are all fossil fuel based. All their weapons are combustion. Their vehicles are all combustion. And so it's not necessarily superhero based, but like they'd have, weapons that were combustion based versus you have an area that's more heavily electric production because it's a solar farm or a nuclear power plant. And so the people there, everything is electric and, maglev trains, and the people there use guns that are like rail guns. It's not necessarily the same as superpowers, but you could basically make something derivative of that. A dude who's got a giant stick that has cartridges that when you swing it, they burst at the end, not shooting anything. Like, you could come up with a whole bunch of stuff and just make something more original and then create a more original backstory. I suppose if you wanted to make something that was more in line with like modern reality, like living in a city or whatever, you could still do something unique or try. The problem is they don't want to try. I wonder if it's because they're just embarrassed. They lack creativity. All they're doing is remaking the same things over and over again. One thing that I've always wanted to do too, and this is just spitballing, is more reality-based superpowers. And I know this has been done as well, but I'd like to see something better exploring superpowers and the limitations in physical reality. Because I always wondered about people with super speed, where like they would experience the world super slow. And this has been explored, but you could do something with friction that they don't normally do. Like if you move too quickly, you burst into flames. So you'd start seeing your skin peel off and things like that. Just, I don't know. I'm sure those things have been done, though. I mean, Frank Miller's stuff is amazing. And if you can't come up with something, I'm not going to pretend like I'm a comic book artist who's going to come up with these interesting ideas, but it's like they don't even try. It's like they bring in people who are just like, Let's do Iron Man, but Iron Man's heart was bad, so it's like Iron Heart, but we should make it a black woman. This is the problem I have with Disney and all this stuff. And then you add in the ESG, and it's like you're not making it any more original. It's all just garbage. Hey, here we go. Disney stock. Look at that. 43% down in the past year. Yep. It ain't doing too well. Man, is it really? October 16th, 1923. It's 99 years old, just about. It's not even 100 years old, and we're coming up on that. 166,000 employees. That's just so insane to me. Yo, we got like 35 employees, and it's hard enough to figure out. Like, it's hard enough to manage. How does a company so big, and not even just that, just like any company in general. Disney's ratings fall significantly as company faces political backlash. You see, you reap what you've sown. They've got nothing original. So what does Disney do? They just buy stuff. We'll buy Marvel. Bro, make your own new superheroes. I get it. If, look at who's that superhero who turns into a diamond? She's not really, it's like an anti-hero, I guess. Emma Frost, is that her name? So she can turn into a diamond, and she's also psychic. And it's just like, okay. So why don't you make, I think Hulk is interesting. He gets mad, he turns into a giant monster, but that was just like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So, then you've got Morbius, who it's like a genetic version of a vampire. You could take any one of these old stories and just turn it into something that's more interesting. I mean, they made Thor, for heaven's sake. You can make something new. Here we go. Set. You make a comic called Set. And it's about, Set, the Egyptian god of the night. Of the desert. I don't know what he's the god of. I don't know. But him and Ra went on a quest to defeat Apep. You could just take that stuff. It's like they did Thor. That works. Come on. Actually, that would be pretty cool. I don't know if you guys saw Moon Knight. I did like how they were taking like these Egyptian deities and they did something unique with it. That's actually okay. And then what they did with Miss Marvel, I can actually respect. So comic book Miss Marvel just grows and it's like, whatever. She can stretch and she can embiggen, Simpsons reference. But in the show, she has hard light where she can make light energy or whatever. And like, it's hard and she can stand on it. And I guess she can shapeshift because of it or whatever. But I'm like, okay, that's cool. It's too bad they turned the show into some ridiculous magic school bus. No, for real. I was actually like, oh, that's cool that light, manifests and it's like a rock, like, and you can throw it and you can punch with it and you can shield yourself with it. That's cool. And then what they did was they made the whole thing about partition. And I think it's funny because I mentioned this and people commented and they were like, are you talking about apartheid, Tim? No, I'm talking about partition in India. I learned all about it watching a Disney show. I don't want to watch a magic school bus. I want to watch some girl get superpowers and punch a guy with a big light glowing fist, okay? I want to watch a dude pull out an elvish blade and battle orcs. It's fun. It's adventure. It's not real life. I don't turn on Disney because I'm like, I'd like to experience the plight of the marginalized communities. No, that's real life. We talk about that all the time. We want to calm down. We want to relax. And what do we get from Disney and other? It's just regurgitated garbage. And when they finally do think of something they can do that's more interesting or unique, they'll be like, but make sure we make it, woke as possible and give a good message. Yeah, I'm not the only one who feels this way. We felt this way for like 10 years already. Gamergate was a long time ago. So you know what? Fine. We'll make our own stuff. We're making our own stuff, and our own stuff is going to be way better. We've got a really offensive show planned for next month. And I'm not going to ruin the joke, but it's just like, I'm pretty sure if we put it on YouTube, they would get really mad at us. I don't think it would be banned, but I'm pretty sure the jokes we're going to do, like, first of all, if you've seen the Cast Castle stuff we're doing, it's all about Ian Crossland, our good friend over from Timcast IRL, co-host, who is running for union president. Unfortunately for him, absentee ballots coming at 3 a.m., and then he just loses the election. So there's a lot of gags in there. And, it is what it is. We're working on upping the quality. We're getting better microphones, and we're just learning as we go because we're going to make our own stuff. That's all we can do. We've got an episode coming up next week, inspired by our good friend, George Alexopoulos, a.k.a. G Prime 85, which is going to be considered, oh, man, the woke people, their heads are going to explode when they see this. But we're going to be crass, crude, edgy. It's like, come on. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia pulled down some episodes or something like that. No, we're going to be, I guess, tastefully offensive because they won't. That's just so stupid. Look, I don't think Timcast is going to take political stances necessarily, like the company itself. I don't care if the employees do. We've had employees post things about a variety of issues, and I'm just like, the one thing I'll say is we had an employee recently post something that was like real dark. And then I was like, yo, that was real dark. And I wouldn't say it wasn't like hate speech or anything. It was just like, yikes. And I was like, look, we don't have a policy saying you can't post whatever you want. I'm just saying, like, I want to try and make sure people aren't, going off the rails or anything like that. But I'm not going to tell someone they can't post their political opinions because it is what it is. And if someone comes to me and like, you have an employee who said a naughty word, I'd be like, wow. And thanks for letting me know, I guess. If it's not about what we do, and if it's not from us, I don't know what to tell you. Like, if an employee writes an article that says something horrible, like, I'll be like, nah, you can't do that. Take that down. If an employee posts on their own social media, I'm going to be like, they have an opinion I don't like. I don't know. We try to tell people to be mindful, but we don't play those games. I'm not going to play this game like Disney. But we do have our politics too. So I'll tell you this. We do expect some politics in our content. And in this regard, political neutrality is sort of a stance because it's the stance that we are asking for. They want wokeness. We want neutrality. Everything is political to a certain degree. The left isn't wrong about that. The problem is they're injecting their cult into our entertainment. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.